My talk title for today is It Takes a Village. And most times when we use that phrase, we're talking about raising children. And I'm talking about raising consciousness, and I'm not sure there's a difference. Because there's a way in which we come into this world and we think about how we're being in this world. And the phrase child of God comes up all the time. We look up at the stars, we look out at the sky, and we think we're so small compared to all this. And easily forget, as Rumi tells us, that we are not just a drop in the ocean. We are the entire ocean in a drop. And so you hear that, and then what do you do with that? And we come here for this teaching, and one of the things we want to gain from this is that we want to grow. We want to feel what that experience is, right? We want to know what it is to feel like that. We are the entire ocean in a drop. We want to feel that. Am I the only one? You want to experience it. And then you go out into the world, and most people around you want to convince you your experience and through the interactions that no, you're not the entire ocean in a drop. You're just a drop in the ocean. And then somebody might say to you something along the lines of, it's kind of arrogant of you to think that you're more than that. When in fact, arrogant or not, it doesn't change the reality of it. The reality of us being an entire ocean in a drop. But taking that experience out takes practice. You know, one of the things I've noticed in my life is all the people who did heavy lifting to get my consciousness where it is today. I did not do this on my own. I made the choices to move forward. I made the choices to practice. But there were lots of times I didn't want to practice. I mean, it's much easier, right, to sit back and go, there's nothing I can do about this. I'm not responsible. Because the thing about being the entire ocean in a drop is then you are responsible. And that can feel like a heavy weight, except for the fact there is no weight. The weight doesn't even exist. Except we feel it that way. And so there's this phrase I'm going to start using pretty regularly called living your soul's intention. And what I mean by that is living from a place of your higher self that knows more than your ego self. Now, there's some people in this world, when they use the word ego, think, treat it as if it's a bad thing. When in fact, our egos are what allow us to be the unique beings we are. It's our expression of our uniqueness. So I'm not here today to say to you, what we're shooting for is to be egoless. No. But I am saying that we have a higher self, that if that is the master, if our higher self is leading the way, and our ego is doing the following, we suffer a lot less. We suffer a lot less. That has been my experience. This is my personal experience, is that I suffer less all the time the more I allow my soul to do the leading and my ego to do the following. But egos, they're like little children. They don't like to follow. They like to lead. And just this past week, somebody was talking to me in a way in which my back went up, and I was like, how, to myself, I didn't say it out loud, but inside I'm going, how could you speak to me this way? You know, and then afterwards I was laughing at myself so much going, wow, I really let my ego almost get the better of me there. And I had to take a look at that, and that's not so, and that's, you know, for me, it hasn't been an easy journey to get to a place where I can get a hold of myself that way and go, wow, isn't that funny that I thought that my ego, you know, my bloated self-importance, as I've read it said, you know, stood up and take charge. But don't we do that? Don't we do that when we think we've been disrespected or we think we've, you know, somebody's done something to us? And then we have this guy, Paul Gyatso, who's I've talked about a lot and will continue to talk about a lot, who for 33 years had his body and mind beaten, and they never got to his spirit. So he comes out of this experience of being tortured by the Chinese for 33 years. Dalai Lama calls him the most enlightened guy on the planet. And I've seen him. And he's just glows. This guy just glows. And when he talks about his experience, he says, this isn't real. The body, it's not real. I'm reading this Zen koan yesterday, where this one guy is trying to get this master to teach him. And the master is not listening and won't do it. So he literally cuts off his arm. I don't want to go that far. But that's what he did. And that's what finally got the teacher to go, oh, he knows his body isn't real. Okay, he's teachable. And we walk around like this is real. We get to experience anything we want in this life from the inside. Our soul's intention, your soul's intention, wants you to feel loved, wants you to feel light, wants you to experience this life at a much higher plane than the day-to-day that goes on for all of us. Another one of my heroes is a guy named Ken Wilber. And he speaks about the difference between states of consciousness and stages of consciousness. Now, the best reason for a state of consciousness, a peak experience, which, you know, you can get from dropping acid, you can, or any psychedelic. You could go to a weekend workshop, right? If you've been to a weekend workshop and you come out and you're like, oh, this is life. It feels so good. And then it wears off. Am I the only one who's experienced that? That's what happens. You go to and so I became a weekend workshop junkie because I wanted to stay in that space, and I recognized if I didn't, it would keep fading. And what I didn't realize was all the practice it takes to keep me there during the week. And what does this have to do with it takes a village? Well, being surrounded by folks who can remind you of this. And when I say remind you of this, I am not talking about the kind of reminder that goes something like, how did you create that? What are you doing in your life that isn't working that's making this appear for you? What are you not taking responsibility for? That's not the kind of support I'm talking about. My wife and I, Ash, who sends her love, her and I have this thing where if one of us is caught up in upset or whatever, the other one simply reminds us of the powerful, creative, spiritual being we are. Reminds us that we are much larger than whatever it is that's going on. I'm lucky to have that in my life. Somebody who will remind me when I am acting like the small ego person that I sometimes can act like, that actually I'm larger than that. I'm bigger than that. I'm really good at reminding her. And so we have that. But it's really good for me to have all of you. And for each of you to have the rest of us here. The book we're using in class, Big Magic, it says very clearly that the whole purpose of creation and is how to make our souls the leader and our ego the follower. That's what we're working on in this class that I'm teaching, where all of us are getting into a routine, a habit, a practice of recognizing what is coming through our eyes. What are we seeing? What are we experiencing? Are we experiencing our soul's intention? Or in this moment, are we experiencing our ego? Because the more you can see which one is leading the way, the more you get to choose. And we're doing that as a group because that's what works. When we get together. And so you guys have this last chance to get into class, because I wrote this great thing on what happened in class 1. These people in the class, they're brilliant and ready to fly. Maybe you want to join them and you still can. On this journey of discovering the true deep difference between in any given moment, because you could be in ecstasy and it still could be your ego. It's not just about when you're upset, it's about when great things happen too. And which eyes you're seeing it through. I was reading about, so you have that opportunity if you still want to sign up for that. I hope you will. It's quite a journey we're on, and I'm really looking forward to it. I was sitting with my dog this morning, and one of the things I had been reading about was, does a dog have Buddha nature? And that dog will not get off my lap. If I sit down, it's like, shoo. If I get up, he's following me around. Doesn't matter where I go, he's following me around. Does this dog have Buddha nature? Well, on one hand, he's right in the moment. On the other hand, he's needy as hell. But the one thing I've noticed about that relationship is it's me who has to get to that Buddha nature. Because I can get really judgmental about how needy he is. Maybe you do that too with yourself or with somebody else. But when we come together as community, this is the whole idea, to drop that sort of thing. To drop the idea of judgment. To be in the sense of beauty, of awe, of magnificence. There is something so special about this short little bit of time we get to have here. I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about why life feels like it goes by in a blink. It's because your soul is infinite. You could live 1,000 years and it would still feel like a blink to your soul. Because your soul is infinite. And so however you spend this time here, it's going to feel like a blank. That's why the Native Americans have that thing about having death on your shoulder, right? So that you remember, this is a blank. How are you going to spend it? How are you going to spend today? How are you going to spend tomorrow? How are you going to spend whatever moment you can remember the sin? So when we live through our soul's intention, I find it excellent as a reminder that this is a blank. And it really helps me take in what it is before me. So I'm sitting in the backyard, and in my backyard, at the moment, it's covered with these incredible, beautiful yellow dandelions, flowers. They're gorgeous. And the grass around them is getting tall, and part of me is like, I should really mow the lawn, but they're so pretty, right? So I sit there and I'm just watching them, and they're at the point now, it's been long enough where some of them are beginning a transformation. We talk a lot in this teaching around the transformation that happens with caterpillars to butterflies. We really like that particular transformation because butterflies are so pretty and caterpillars not so much. In the dandelions, though, I really like the yellow flowers. And then they transform into these white puffballs. The white puffballs is how they bring new life. The beauty of the yellow flower is just that. It's a blank. It's the white puffball that lasts, that keeps life going. That's the infinite part of that transformation. And I think that's what we get caught up in life sometimes, is all the flash. Ooh, this is really fun. This is really pretty. And I got no issue with that. I like that too. I like flash. I go out, watch sunsets. Oh my God. I was with Les the other day, and we were trailblazing. I'd lost the trail. I said I knew where this trail was. I didn't. I thought I did, and I didn't. And so before we knew it, we're trailblazing, and I'm having a ball because we're now going down a landslide area, and this is now exciting, right? It's really fun. And Les is there going, yeah, I'm having fun too, but I could hear the nervousness in his voice. And so anyway, it was a blast, and it was really fun, and it was a adrenaline rush. That's what I wanted to say. It was an adrenaline rush. We like those. Some of us really like those a lot. Some people like me like them more than others. But that's the instant in the moment. Then there's the infinite. That infinite place where just sitting, watching my cat and dog play is just extraordinary. Or when they're both just sitting on the bed with me, one on each side, extraordinary. There's that saying about, stop and smell the roses. Well, that's only works if you like smelling roses. Not everybody actually likes that. Well, what do you like? If today's your last day, what do you like? Yeah. What will bring you to that place of seeing your souls through the eyes of your soul's intention? Because that's where the infinite is. That's where the beauty is. That's that place where we get to feel, oh, this is magnificent. I speak about it in terms of a village because I grew up very much feeling like I did not belong. When I was a little kid, I wasn't like the members of my family. They thought I was nuts. Kids in school thought I was nuts. I was called crazy all the time growing up. Went out, started, tried to make friends. My first friend was in my senior year in high school. I made 5 of them, group of guys that I'm still connected with today. But it took that long for me to feel any sense of belonging anywhere. It really didn't begin for me to fall into place until I found this teaching. When I walked into the Science of Mind Center in Asheville and felt, oh my God, this feels like home. They're speaking my language. They're saying stuff like, there's no God out there, it's in here. They're saying stuff like, we are all one. I read a lot of Alan Watts because he's so clear on the infinite nature of us. He's so clear on that it doesn't matter if whatever we compare ourselves to, whatever we think this is the standard, whatever we think this is it, well, the opposite is it too, because it all exists and it's all one. Dr. Holmes said that there's nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. I've heard a lot of people say that. But how many of us actually experience that? Because a lot of times when I hear people ask for healing, they're wanting something fixed because they feel like something in their body is broken. I mean, we even call bones broken. And I'm not here to say that it's not and that you shouldn't go fix it. That is, I am not shooting on you at all. I'm just saying there's something larger going on that we have seen certain individuals on this planet, like Paul Giazzo, lead us down that road of seeing that we get to experience when we have a peak experience, we get to experience more often if we practice. Nothing to be healed, only truth to be revealed. That's really hard to remember if you've got a high fever, if you've got a broken bone, if you've got a diagnosis. All of a sudden, you're scrambling for healing. I know that happens to me. Maybe it doesn't happen to you. Maybe it's just me. And then I have to remember the truth. And I find that the deeper I experience that truth, the more life just seems to take care of itself in ways that I could have never imagined. I want you to know that that's what's possible for each of you, and that's the beauty of peak experiences, is to give you that possibility. But then to actually live that way takes practice, and the best way to practice is in community. Belonging, where you can feel uplifted. You can feel loved. That's the kind of support we all want, right? Uplifted, loved. And that's what we get to have in community. It takes a village. I love the idea of a village because we're not all going to get to know each other. You know, I don't know how many people are in this room right now. We're all not going to get to know each other really well and deeply. But all of us can find those that we do that with. Our group, our circle. Every one of you, I promise, there's others in here you can resonate with. And having that, having an intention of that. At the AGM, I was asked, what my vision for this center is, the annual general meeting. And at the time, I told everybody I didn't really have one. I do now. And so I want to share it with you. My vision for this community is that we become such a powerful support for each other that each and every one of us gets to live our soul's intention. That's my vision, is that this is the place to do that. This is where we come together and support each other in knowing the difference between our ego and our soul's intention and living from that place so that we can have the life of our dreams. Each and every one of us. That's my vision. That's what I hold for each and every one of you. And for me, I think it's possible. So I want to be clear that I don't hold this vision as something far-reaching. I think it's very, very possible to have this for each of us. And when I think about it, when I meditate on it, when I breathe into let my heart breathe into that, I get so excited about it. It's really exciting that we get to do this with each other. It's really exciting that we get to applaud each other's successes in their own growth, in their own sense of beingness. You know, somebody told me the other day that their success was this thing that really isn't working for them. They saw deeper into it to a place where they could feel the success of it not working. Wow. That is the spot of transformation. Something I've said before, and I will say many, many times, transformation does not rectify. It transmutes. It means, and I know I've said this before, and I'll be saying it again, it means if you try to fix something, you're not transforming it. That moment where that person experienced his success inside his failure, that's a transformational moment. He stopped trying to fix it and saw something deeper. When we look through our soul's eyes, we see deeper stuff. Things change in ways we never would have expected, and we never fixed them. If you've never had this experience, I promise you, if you keep showing up here and you keep taking classes, you will. I promise you. If you have had this experience, this is the place to keep developing it, because if you're anything like me, you keep forgetting anyway. And practice works. And this is a good place for the support of that practice. So please, join me in my vision. Let us all walk forward, living our soul's intention. It is what will transform not only ourselves, but the world. Thank you. I love you.